Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the HTC Vive Pro, the upgraded and updated version of the HTC Vive that includes a number of design and feature changes that make it worthwhile discussing and having a look at. This is an unboxing video where I'll be unboxing the device, followed by a short review where I will talk through the different facets of the new design and what it means when you're playing VR games, and comparing that with the original Vive, which I have been using for well over a year now. The visuals on the HTC Vive have been improved now, so in the Vive Pro you're looking at 2800 by 1600 pixels. That's 1400 by 1600 pixels per eye, which is 615 pixels per inch, with a 110 degree field of view and a 90 Hz refresh rate on dual AMOLED 3.5 inch displays. Interestingly, actually, point of note here is the size of the lenses hasn't been changed. So if you upgraded your HTC Vive with prescription lenses, as I've recommended in the past, you can take those prescription lenses and put them in the new Vive, which is something I've done actually. The quality of the improvement has made quite a bit of difference, and you will see, I will discuss that in a bit more depth. HTC claim it means 78% more clarity. We'll talk about what that means when I get to the review stage. Other improvements include a higher res certified pair of headphones, which means you get a better quality sound, which also includes spatial sound, which means you get a sort of surround sound for your virtual reality gaming, which makes a big difference. It also includes dual front-facing cameras and dual microphones, which means you get better room mapping and other abilities that can be used in game and whatnot. And that also includes a new design, which is kind of similar to the deluxe audio strap that you saw in the original HTC Vive that you could buy as an optional accessory. So the comfort is improved, the sound quality is improved, and the visuals are improved. But for now, I'm going to leave you with the unboxing so you can enjoy all the goodness of the HTC Vive Pro and what it looks like as it comes out of the box. Stick with the video and you will get to see my thoughts on it and whether it's worth buying or not at the end. No idea what those are. Oh. It's interesting. Different. Glasses. I'm not going to take that out. Instructions. That's interesting. Little diddy leather ear cups. Oh, there you go. interesting. So they've gone for a single connection now instead of 3. And then you get that goes into DisplayPort rather than HDMI. Well, there you go. Microphones. And this is what the headset looks like when it's on your face. Now, this is an £800 headset, and that is all you get for your £800 is the Vive Pro, which you've seen in the unboxing video. That means that you don't get the controllers, which are £130 each, and the base stations, which are about the same as well, each. So you're looking at another £500. That's the first thing to start off with. Actually means that you can get the original HTC Vive, you can see this one's well worn, and the new HTC Vive Pro together for the same amount of money, rather than buying the base stations and controllers separately, which is absolutely insane. But it's interesting, and it shows that this is an upgrade to the HTC Vive experience rather than something that you would buy outright as a new thing. It wouldn't be an entry-level device to get into VR. That said, as you can see from the specifications, and if you're already aware, if you've really looked into it, this is a much better headset. It's much more comfortable. It comes with the similar sort of design that you'd seen just now on the original Vive, where you got the deluxe audio strap with the headphones and the extra support there. So it ditches the 3 Velcro straps that you had on the original, and you just got this one on top. And then there's the thing on the back for tightening it, so it makes putting it on a lot easier. They've also adjusted the gravity positioning and weight distribution of this headset, so it sits a lot more comfortably on the face. It's still quite uncomfortable if you wear glasses like I do, but the good news there is, if you've seen my previous video on how to upgrade your HTC Vive with prescription lenses, those lenses for the HTC Vive will also fit in the HTC Vive Pro. So that means you can ditch your spectacles and just use the prescription lenses within this headset, which is nice. The comfort isn't too bad. It is noticeably better, especially better than the original HTC Vive with the original straps. It goes on and off a lot more easily, and you've got the adjustment wheel at the back, makes life a lot easier. There's a lot more padding and comfort. One thing as well is because you've got the headphones built into it and it's not an attachment like the deluxe audio strap, there's only a single cable to deal with. There's none of the extra cabling for the headphones or having to worry about plugging your own headset in or anything like that. So you're not getting knotted up in those cables. It is still cable, and the cable is proprietary to plug into the new link box. The other point of note that I found out when using it is it now uses DisplayPort as your input into your computer instead of HDMI. I came unstuck with this when I tried to plug it into my gaming laptop, which is the thing I usually use for my VR content, because that only has an HDMI output and not a DisplayPort. Most modern graphics cards, that includes the 2 that I've got in my other gaming PCs, which is a 1070 Ti and the old original Titan, have DisplayPort outputs on them. So if you're using a desktop gaming machine, it's not a problem. But if you want a laptop that makes it nice and easy to use VR, then that's a bit of an issue. I'm not sure whether an adapter would work or not. In theory it should do, but I haven't had the opportunity to try it. So you could use an adapter that goes from HDMI to DisplayPort and then connect it through that. That was one of the issues. The other issue I had was with this setup. You'll see at the top here, this is where the cable connects from your machine into the headset itself. Now this has actually come loose, and you can adjust this cable. You can adjust the headset to make it go in and out, to put your eyes closer or further away to the screen. But in doing that, I think this has actually disconnected this cable. Now, if you take the face mask off, there's a flap underneath here, which with a bit of convincing will come off. That unveils the USB-C port, which is under there that you can get to, but it also allows you to get to this wire and the plug that it plugs into, so you can plug that in. So if you have any issues, if you buy your HTC Vive Pro, that's what to do to sort it out, because that's the issue I had. Otherwise, to sum up the experience, as you'd expect based on the specs, this is a much better unit. You get a much better, clearer display, and it is noticeably clearer. When you're playing games, the graphics look a hell of a lot better, the textures are superb. But the one thing that stands out immediately is you can't see the pixels as much. Now, you've got your face jammed right up against screens, essentially, and each of those screens now has more pixels to it, so that they're much smaller, which means you don't see them as prominently. With the original HTC Vive, sometimes you could see all the pixels, and it was kind of off-putting, and it made you think, oh, this isn't as good quality as you'd expect. That's the one thing that strikes straight away. The second big improvement is these headphones. Now, I've got the Deluxe Audio Strap, as you've seen, but this is a slight change in that these have these slight leather ear cups, and they go on ear. They also go incredibly loud, and they have a volume control and mic buttons on them. So they've got the mic mute button, volume control on the other side. Now, the volume is excellent, but also the spatial sound is much better. So you can really hear where the game sounds are meant to be coming from now, which makes a very big difference in zombie games and wave shooters, or any sort of first-person shooter you're playing, because you can really hear it. And I played a number of different games to try and check out, including Arizona Sunshine and other games like that, and it really made a big difference compared to the original headset and the experiences I've had in the past. I was really impressed by that. So that's the two sort of standout features, is the improved graphics and the improved sound. Obviously, from a virtual reality standpoint, those two things really help with the immersion. If you've got the comfort there, which this headset is a lot more comfortable than the previous version, and you've got the improved graphic quality, and you've got the improvements in sound quality, then you've got a good all-round package, which means you're getting an excellent VR experience. Now, the HTC Vive is, by most people's standpoint, the best VR experience you can get. The Oculus Rift is slightly cheaper and delivers a good experience, but isn't quite as good, which is why you've always paid a premium for the HTC Vive. PlayStation VR we won't talk about, because that's awful. However, now obviously the HTC Vive Pro is the professional grade, actually, as HTC Vive call it, the professional grade VR experience, which means you're paying even more money for an even better experience. Now, whether this is worth £800 on its own is really up to your wallet, I think. If I honestly said, if I had £800 spare right now, I would probably pay for a new monitor rather than buying this. I've got the original Vive. Whether it's worthwhile to spend £800 to upgrade for slightly better graphics and better sound, I really don't. I can't say so at this point. So the other improvements after the specifications are the two front-facing cameras, as you can see. The original Vive only having a single one on the front of it. And this one also sports two microphones underneath. Obviously the quality of the microphones is going to be improved there. One is said to be for noise cancellation, but having two of everything seems to be the key feature here. Basically, this is improved in every area. It's just the price is the real killer. You're looking at well over £1,300 if you wanted to buy this as your initial purchase, along with the base stations and the controllers, and that equates to about the same in dollars as well. So it's quite an expensive outlay, and yes, it is worthwhile, but you also need to have a high-end gaming PC. The specifications for this haven't enhanced much versus the original, although it has got more pixels to run, so you'd think it would be a bit more intensive. They recommend a 1070 graphics card as a minimum. You can go lower. I believe 970 is actually the lowest, but it's recommended at 1070. So you're looking at a pretty expensive PC to run a pretty expensive gaming headset. If you do want the very best VR experience, though, the HTC Vive Pro is now it. That's what you're looking at. I wouldn't recommend buying it straight out of the gate when it first comes out, unless you happen to be really loaded. In which case, good luck to you. I personally wouldn't buy it, because I have kids and I'm not rich. This is a test sample which is going to have to go back when I finish with it. It's been a joy to have, and I'm certainly going to feel the pain of downgrading and going back to my original Vive headset. That said, it's still a very good experience with the original Vive, and they've now reduced the price to $499, I believe, which makes it a lot more accessible to a lot more people. Plus, buying $499, you actually get the controllers and the base stations as well, so you get that separately. As I said, you could go mad if you really have the money and buy the original Vive and pre-order the HTC Vive Pro, and that makes a lot more sense than even buying the controllers and base stations separately. So that's another option. There are a lot of things going for it. I think once the wireless adapter comes out and you have that ability as well, that'll be so much better, because one of the nagging things with this is the cable isn't long enough and you get tied up in it and caught up on it when you're gaming, which is especially with the frantic games. I often find I'm getting caught on it on my legs. Look, it's even just getting caught on a chair now is a perfect example. And it's a constant annoyance. I think it takes away from the immersion as well. Obviously the weight and comfort is another thing, and as a glasses wearer, really making that prescription upgrade is a big deal, because I often find that the glasses, I'm getting steaming up the lenses, and I'm steaming up my own lenses as well. But that's a VR specky 4 eyes problem rather than a general problem with the headset itself. The cushions and face cushions are slightly improved here as well, which blocks out more light from the surroundings, so you actually see more. Also, I mentioned the headset being a lot louder. The volume on here is good, and although it doesn't cover the ear, as you can see, it just sits on top of it, and they click up nicely if you need to. It blocks out quite a lot of sound, quite surprisingly. I often found when I had a couple of friends that were trying it out, and my wife as well, and you had to shout at them to let them know what's going on in the real world, because they're not here. And I've had the same thing where you just can't hear people, which is dangerous in VR, but actually really adds to the immersion. The good thing with this design is you can just click them up if you need to, and it's really easy to be able to use them. And as I said, you've got the volume control on there and the mic mute button on the other side as well, so there's really easy access to all the controls that you need. At the end of the day, HTC has done a good job, and this is again the pinnacle of VR gaming. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and come back for more in future. And if you hated it, please let me know in the comments why, and then I can improve in future. Thanks very much for stopping by. This is the Provoked Prawn signing out.